every single day someone is trying to manipulate your mind. In fact, it's happening to you right now, and you don't even realize it. Studies show that the average person encounters over 300 hask manipulation attempts daily. Yeah, 300. From the coffee shop using scarcity tactics to relationships using emotional leverage. But here's the thing. Once you understand these dark psychology secrets, you become virtually immune to them. Not stronger, just harder to control. Today, I'm going to reveal every major manipulation technique used against you. Not so you can use them, that's not the point, but so you can spot them instantly. From the subtle gaslighting in your relationship to the psychological triggers in every advertisement you see. And once you notice them, you really can't unnotice them. These techniques are so powerful that governments, corporations, and even people close to you use them daily. Sometimes on purpose, sometimes without even realizing it. But by the end of this video, you'll have something like invisible psychological armor. Not aggressive, just protective. So pay close attention, because this knowledge could change how you see every interaction for the rest of your life. Let's start with something that's probably happening to you right now as you watch this video. You're experiencing what psychologists call attentional hijacking. Your focus is being deliberately controlled. The editing, the music, the pacing, all of it is designed to keep you engaged. And yeah, that's just the beginning. Welcome to the hidden world of dark psychology, where your mind becomes someone else's playground. Dark psychology isn't about being evil or malicious. It's about understanding the hidden levers of human behavior. These are the techniques that influence what you buy, who you vote for, and even who you fall in love with. Every major corporation has teams of psychologists studying how to hack your decision-making process. Political campaigns use them to shape opinions. Social media platforms use them to keep you scrolling. And sometimes, people in our personal lives use these same techniques too, consciously or unconsciously. But here's what they don't want you to know. Once you understand the game, you can't be played. It just stops working. Today we're covering 15 core manipulation techniques across 3 categories that affect your mind. First, cognitive manipulation. These exploit how your brain processes information. Second, emotional exploitation. They hijack your feelings to control your decisions. And third, social control techniques, using your need for belonging against you. Let me be really clear here. This isn't about learning to manipulate others. It's about protecting yourself. Think of this as psychological self-defense. You're learning to recognize the patterns so you can't be controlled by them, because once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. They become obvious, almost laughably transparent. You'll start noticing them everywhere. Advertising, politics, relationships, casual conversations. And more importantly, you'll develop this quiet, intuitive sense when someone is trying to steer your thinking. You'll feel it. This knowledge is power. Not power over people, power over your own decisions. So let's dive into the first category, cognitive manipulation. These techniques exploit fundamental flaws in human reasoning, and the first one is probably the most dangerous because it makes you question your own reality. Gaslighting. Named after a 1944 psychological thriller, it's the systematic undermining of someone's perception of reality. The gaslighter convinces their target that their memory, perception, or judgment is fundamentally flawed. It starts small. You're remembering that wrong. That never happened. You're being too sensitive. Over time, the victim starts doubting themselves, their memory, their judgment. Eventually, they become dependent on the gaslighter for what's real. The key to recognizing gaslighting is trusting your initial instincts. If something feels off, yeah, it probably is. Keep a journal of events. Gaslighters rely on faulty memory. Documentation completely destroys their power. Next is cognitive dissonance exploitation, using the discomfort of conflicting beliefs to control behavior. When your actions don't match your beliefs, your mind feels tension. It doesn't like that feeling. Manipulators exploit this by first getting you to commit to very small actions that contradict your values. Nothing obvious. Then, they slowly increase the commitment. And stopping now would mean admitting you were wrong. So you keep going. That's why cults start with innocent meditation sessions, not immediate indoctrination. The defense? Recognize the foot in the door technique. If someone starts with unusually small requests, be cautious. Anchoring bias manipulation is everywhere, especially in marketing. It's the first piece of information that shapes everywhere, especially in marketing. It's the first piece of information that shapes everything that comes after. See, that 100 was never real. It's just an anchor to make 100 feel reasonable. Real estate agents show overpriced houses first, so the actual target feels like a bargain. Even negotiations work this way. Whoever says the first number sets the mental anchor. To defend against anchoring, always research fair market value before you negotiate or buy. Always. Confirmation bias weaponization targets your brain's tendency to seek information that agrees with you. Social media algorithms are incredible at this. They only show you what reinforces what you already believe. That creates a false sense of consensus. It feels like everyone agrees with you because that's all you see. Political manipulators exploit this by crafting messages that feel validating, not necessarily accurate. The antidote? Actively seek opposing viewpoints. It's uncomfortable, but it keeps you free. Fear-based persuasion hijacks your survival instincts. And when you're afraid, you stop thinking clearly. You just want the fear to stop. That's when you're most vulnerable to bad decisions. Politicians use fear of collapse, crime, social change. Insurance sales rely on vivid disaster scenarios. Even relationships use fear. If you don't do this, something terrible will happen to us. To resist fear-based manipulation, use the 24-hour rule. Never make big decisions while emotionally charged. Ask yourself quietly, is this person helping me think clearly, or are they amplifying my fear to serve their agenda? These cognitive manipulation techniques are just the beginning. Next, we'll explore how your emotions become weapons against you.
Welcome to the emotional battleground. This is where manipulators stop targeting your thoughts and start weaponizing your feelings. Emotional manipulation is more dangerous than cognitive tricks because emotions feel real, immediate, undeniable. When someone goes after your emotions, they skip your critical thinking entirely. You react from the heart, not the head. The first technique is love bombing. It's an overwhelming flood of affection, meant to create emotional dependency. Love bombers shower you with attention, gifts, flattery, big promises about a perfect future together. And yeah, it feels incredible at first. You've never felt so valued, so special, so completely understood and appreciated. But here's the trap. That level of intensity isn't sustainable. And it isn't meant to be. Once you're emotionally hooked, the withdrawal starts. Affection becomes conditional, inconsistent. You catch yourself doing anything to get back to that initial high, compromising your values, your boundaries, your independence. The red flag? Anyone who feels too good to be true. Probably is. Healthy love grows gradually, not explosively. Trust that discomfort. When someone's affection feels overwhelming or moves too fast, that's your intuition doing its job. Guilt manipulation turns your conscience against you. It weaponizes your desire to be a good person. The guilt manipulator makes you feel responsible for their emotions, their problems, their happiness. After everything I've done for you, if you really loved me, you would. I guess I don't matter to you. They create this false equation. Your compliance equals love. Your boundaries equal selfishness. Guilt manipulators are emotional vampires. They drain your empathy to fuel their control. The defense? Remember this. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions. That's their job. Practice saying, I understand you're upset, but I'm not responsible for fixing that. And letting that be enough. Emotional mirroring is when someone becomes A perfect reflection of what you want to see. They study your preferences, your pain points, your dreams, and then they become exactly what you've been missing. Same movies, same values, perfectly complementary personalities. It feels like destiny. But it's not real. It's a performance designed to lower your guard. Once you're committed, the mask comes off, and you realize the person you fell for never actually existed. Red flags? They don't have strong opinions of their own. Their personality shifts to match yours. They seem just a little too perfect. Healthy relationships have friction, disagreement, individuality, perfect agreement. Yeah, that's suspicious. Trauma bonding might be the most insidious one, because it feels like deep connection. It happens when someone becomes both your source of pain and your source of comfort. They create the crisis, then rescue you from it. They hurt you, then heal you. And slowly, you get addicted to the cycle. Your brain releases powerful bonding chemicals during both the trauma and the relief. It's an addictive mix. You start confusing intensity with intimacy, chaos with passion, dependency with love. People often say, "You don't understand, when it's good, it's amazing." That's exactly the problem. Healthy relationships feel steady. They offer consistent comfort, not wild swings between ecstasy and agony. If your relationship feels like an emotional addiction, if you can't leave even though you're being hurt, that's worth taking seriously. Intermittent reinforcement is one of the strongest manipulation techniques there is. It gives you just enough affection to keep you hoping, but never enough to feel secure. Sometimes they're warm, sometimes cold, sometimes present, sometimes distant. You never know which version you'll get. That unpredictability triggers the same brain chemistry as gambling addiction. You keep playing, hoping for the jackpot. And when they suddenly become affectionate again, that win feels so good. You forget all the losses. You start thinking, if I just try harder, if I'm just good enough, they'll finally be consistent. But that's the illusion. The inconsistency isn't a flaw. It's the entire feature. To break free, you need consistency, not occasional treats. Ask yourself quietly, am I being emotionally fed or kept hungry? With occasional scraps? These emotional manipulation techniques work because they hijack your deepest human needs: connection, love, belonging. They turn your empathy, your loyalty, your capacity to love into weapons against you. Remember, someone who truly loves you respects your boundaries. They don't keep testing them. They're consistent in their care. They don't use your feelings as a control mechanism, and they add to your life. They don't make you question your worth or your reality. The key to emotional protection is learning the difference between healthy discomfort and toxic manipulation. Healthy relationships challenge you to grow. Toxic ones challenge your sense of self. Trust your emotional thermostat. If you consistently feel drained, confused, or desperate around someone, that's information. Your emotions aren't your enemy. They're your early warning system. But emotions alone aren't enough. Manipulators are very good at making toxic behavior feel normal. That's why the third category is so dangerous. It uses your social needs against you. Humans are tribal. We need belonging, acceptance, connection. Social manipulators exploit this by controlling access to approval and validation. They make you feel like your social survival depends on their acceptance. This is how cults work, how toxic workplaces maintain control, how abusive groups keep people compliant. They don't just manipulate your mind or your emotions, they reshape your entire social reality. Understanding social control techniques is critical because once you're trapped socially, leaving becomes terrifying. So, next, we're going to explore how your need for connection can quietly turn into a cage.
Social proof exploitation takes that natural instinct you have to look at others when you're unsure and quietly turns it into control. When you don't know what to think, you look around. You notice what feels normal, acceptable, smart. That's human. Manipulators mess with this by creating fake social proof. Everyone's doing it. All the smart people agree. You're the only one who thinks differently. Online, this gets amplified. Bot accounts, fake reviews, manufactured trends. Stuff that makes fringe ideas feel mainstream. Cults use this really effectively. They surround new members with enthusiastic believers, all reinforcing the same message, that the leader is special, enlightened, untouchable. The defense? Slow down and ask, who exactly is saying this? What do they gain? Am I seeing real agreement or something carefully manufactured? Authority bias abuse works in a similar way, but it targets respect instead of belonging. You're wired to respect expertise, leadership, experience. That's not a flaw, it's efficient. But manipulators use surface-level authority to bypass your thinking. Real authority comes from skill, ethics, and accountability. Fake authority comes from titles, expensive clothes, vague claims. They borrow credibility by association, as seen on TV. Doctors recommend, studies show, but no names, no sources, no details. They also create urgency. Experts say you must act now. Authorities recommend immediate action. Here's the difference: real experts welcome questions. They explain their reasoning. They admit uncertainty. Fake ones deflect and demand obedience. Isolation tactics are where things get darker. This is when manipulators slowly cut you off from other perspectives. It starts gently. Your friends don't understand you like I do. Your family is holding you back. You don't really need them anymore. Over time, your world shrinks. You lose contact with anyone who might challenge the narrative or support you independently. Eventually, the manipulator becomes your only reference point, your only validator of reality. And at that point, seeing the manipulation becomes incredibly hard. Abusive partners use this. Toxic employers use this. Controlling groups use this. Oscillation is their strongest weapon. The antidote is staying connected, even when it feels inconvenient. Multiple relationships, multiple viewpoints. If someone consistently discourages your other relationships, that's not love. That's control. Group pressure techniques take isolation and add fear. They exploit your desire to belong and your fear of rejection. The group creates an us versus them mindset. Questioning the group equals betraying it. Dissent becomes disloyalty. Questions become disloyalty. Questions become attacks. Independent thinking becomes selfishness. Members start watching each other, reporting wrong thoughts, correcting behavior. This creates a culture of quiet fear. People self-censor because rejection feels worse than silence. Warning signs, pressure to cut off outsiders, punishment for asking questions, demands for absolute loyalty. Healthy groups don't work like that. They encourage questions. They welcome disagreement. They support your outside relationships. Information control is the foundation beneath all of this. Control the information, and you control reality. Manipulators limit what you're allowed to read, what you're allowed to watch, what you're allowed to question. They flood you with their version of events and label everything else as dangerous. Fake news, enemy propaganda, misinformation. Critical thinking becomes overthinking. Fact-checking becomes loyalty. Fact-checking becomes disloyalty. Multiple-pers text become fugal. Adicidi betanet for a tat. Always look at multiple sources, especially ones that challenge you. If someone discourages you from researching, reading, or thinking independently, that's a massive red flag. Social manipulation is especially dangerous because it targets who you are. It doesn't just change your thoughts or your emotions, it changes who you're allowed to be. The antidote is keeping your individual agency inside healthy connections. You can belong without conforming. You can be loyal without being blind. You can be part of something without losing yourself. Any group that demands you abandon critical thinking isn't worth belonging to, and anyone who genuinely cares about you will want you to think for yourself, not just agree with them. These 15 manipulation techniques are centuries of psychology weaponized against people, but now you see them. And once you see them, they lose power. This is what I call manipulation immunity. The ability to recognize these patterns instantly. Once you see them, they're as obvious as someone trying to pick your pocket. So how do you build that immunity? First, trust your instincts. That uneasy feeling, it's usually protecting you. If something feels too perfect, too urgent, too good to be true, slow down. Second, keep diverse relationships and information sources. Isolation helps manipulators. Connection protects you. Third, practice saying no, without explaining, without justifying. Your boundaries don't need permission. Fourth, question emotional urgency. Real emergencies rarely demand that you abandon logic. Fifth, watch patterns over time. One incident might be a mistake. Patterns reveal intent. And finally, healthy relationships expand you. Toxic ones shrink you. You should feel more yourself around healthy people. More grounded, not more confused. If someone consistently makes you doubt your memory, your judgment, your worth, that isn't love, that's control. Your mind is your most valuable possession. Guard it. Because once someone controls how you think, they control everything you do. But now, you're not unprotected anymore. You're aware. If this opened your eyes to something you've experienced, you're not alone. Share this knowledge. The more people who recognize these patterns, the weaker they become. Stay aware. Stay grounded. And never let anyone take away your ability to think for yourself. Before you go, I want you to understand something profound that just happened. In the last few minutes, you've gained access to psychological knowledge that most people will never learn. You've essentially received a masterclass in human manipulation that universities charge thousands to teach. But more importantly, you've developed psychological immunity that will protect you for the rest of your life. Huh. And think about it. Every advertisement you see from now on, every political speech, every relationship dynamic, every social interaction, you'll now recognize the underlying psychological techniques being used. You'll see the puppet strings that others can't see. You'll understand the game that most people don't even realize they're playing. And this knowledge doesn't make you cynical, it makes you free. Free to make authentic choices based on your own values rather than someone else's agenda. Free to love without being manipulated. Free to think without being controlled. Free to live without being played. Nay, may. Remember, with great power comes great responsibility. Use this knowledge ethically. Protect yourself and others, but never use these techniques to harm or control. The world has enough manipulators, it needs more protectors. And in CA, create content like this because I believe everyone deserves psychological freedom. If this video has helped you recognize manipulation in your own life, please share it with someone who needs this protection. Your share could literally save someone from years of psychological abuse. And subscribe and hit that notification bell because I'm building an entire library of psychological protection content. Next week, I'm revealing the manipulation techniques used in advertising that make you buy things you don't need. The week after, we're diving into workplace psychological manipulation and how to maintain your sanity in toxic environments. In comment below with the word "Prutset" if you're committed to using this knowledge to defend yourself and others. I read every comment, and your engagement helps this life-changing content reach more people who desperately need it. Remember, your mind is your kingdom. Now you have the tools to defend it. Remember, your mind is your kingdom. Now you have the tools to prevent it. Stay vigilant, stay protected, and never let anyone steal your power to think for yourself. Until next time, keep your psychological armor strong.